oh my gosh, this could get taken away from you at any time possible. Maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe people are right. Maybe I shouldn't be in the Opals. Maybe I shouldn't be a basketballer.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just give it up. And I can't tell you the amount of chats that I had with people that I thought, you know, I'm just going to retire. They came with nothing. My grandpa went to jail to try and flee to give us a better life. And
wow.
Yeah, and
Oh my
Australia's
God.
really given us that better life.
It actually gave me goosebumps. Like, people don't really know that about you.
You are worthy. You do deserve things, but it's not until you actually believe it that things start to change. No lives are being lost. No lives are being saved.
Yeah.
We are playing a game.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy it.
No,
honestly.
literally. Oh God, I can't wait for people to listen to that part. That's really dope. That's really cool.
You know, for me, life is all about memories and moments. And it's about creating really beautiful memories and moments with the special people that you love. And I think that's the key to life for me.
Clicks to that, because snaps. That's what it is. Hello and welcome everybody. This is Under the Service, Pumped by Reebok with Annalene Maley. Today I have Alice Kunek with us. Thank you for joining us, Alice.
Thank you so much for having me.
What have you been up to today? What does this day look like for you?
It's been actually a very busy but also non-busy day. I had a workout this morning, then did a facial, which ended up being like 3 hours. And it was the best 3 hours of my entire life.
I
It
love
was
this
so
for you.
good. Yeah.
When they do the whole hot towel thing. And
It was
the gua
amazing.
sha.
I ended up actually getting like all these photos taken of like my skin, and they told me my like elasticity and my hydration, and they did like a whole skin profiling check. New 28 on High Street Armour. I'm going to plug the place because it was so good, and the girl was beautiful.
Yeah, I saw it on your Instagram and you've already influenced me. Skinfluenced.
Honestly, skinfluence.
Hashtag skinfluencer. So at the
And then
moment,
I got some piercings actually.
Oh yeah, she's
I
got a
my
new
ears pierced.
piercing. Yeah,
like
yeah.
a 10-year-old.
More grunge, you know.
Yeah.
Just a little bit grunge for you. So you're in between doing things at the moment, right? Right now you're playing NBL 1, a few more games. You only got one more game left in the season, is that right?
Yeah, one more game against Marina.
Oh yes, you play against Ringwood.
Yes.
I did know that.
Wifey.
Yeah, that'll be good. And then, so we just came off the back of the Rose Gold at the Asia Cup. Then you're doing a little bit with NBL 1. And then we were just talking about you get to go to
Greece.
That's so exciting. Where in Greece are you going to go?
I'm going to Athens. So I've got a wedding in a place called Leros, which is a small village. Then I'm going to Zakynthos and just a few other islands as well. But partly holiday, we'll be doing some training over there. But yeah, it'll be nice to get over there.
That's so nice. So for people who don't know who Alice is, give us a quick blurb on your basketball career. It can't be quick because you've been absolutely everywhere. But if you can condense, who is Alice Kunek, aka who are you in a basketball sense first?
Wow. I'm like a traveling gypsy.
Yeah. Literally, when I said it, I was like, quick blurb, there's no way.
I'm actually a traveling gypsy.
Yeah.
My grandma would be like, oh my God. So obviously started playing with the Eltham Wildcats like yourself as a junior career, and then played state teams for Victoria Metro, went to Caulfield Grammar, played basketball obviously there. From there got a scholarship to the Institute of Sport, had 2 years there, went to World Championships, did pro straight away because back in our day, it wasn't really the right thing to go, college straight away. You kind of wanted to be seen by the Australian team.
Yeah.
So I started playing for the Bulleen Boomers under Tom Maher and Michelle Timms, was lucky enough to win a championship my first year there. Stayed in the WNBL for a couple of years. Oh, actually a lot of years.
Yeah.
Did some short-term stints in France, played in Perth, and then from there went to Europe. So I've been in Europe the last 4 out of 5 years and played in obviously France, Poland and Hungary just recently.
That's actually, you did pretty well there to condense that.
I
was
did,
like,
didn't
you
I?
did miss
Yeah.
out some 3x3 stuff,
yeah.
Commonwealth Games,
Yeah.
like things like there's a lot in there, ovals, but
yeah.
Alice has been everywhere and done a lot of things, but I want to strip it back to, you as a kid. Who were you as a youngin', and how would people describe you? Let's start. You as a 5-year-old. What type of kid were you?
Oh my gosh. I was very sure of myself, my mother would say. I went to a Montessori school. I don't know if anyone knows about Montessori schools, but it's like my mum put me there because I was just probably too, not hardworking, that's not the right word, but like I just knew what I wanted as a kid.
Yeah.
I knew what I was sure about as a kid. So my mum put me into a Montessori school, which I absolutely hated. I can tell you I absolutely hated it. I was like, why can't I be like all the normal kids?
Yeah.
Anyway, but played basketball. So I did like Mozzie squad at Blackburn Vikings.
Mozzie squad?
Yeah, I did Mozzie squad, yeah. And I have 2 older brothers, so I really looked up to them. They played basketball. My dad also played basketball as well, just locally. So that's kind of where I got into basketball as a kid. And when we renovated our house, we put in like a basketball court out the back. So we would just play basketball every night. I just remember getting absolutely killed by my brothers.
Yes.
And they would just, there was no mercy.
Yeah.
It was like, you're our younger sister. And I probably got more than they got in life,
Yeah.
Probably the little princess, daddy's girl. So
Only girl. Yeah.
Only girl, youngest, But I do come from a European background. So my dad's side's Croatian, my mum's side's Irish. So I will say I was raised very European. Kunek, some people think it's Polish. No, definitely Croatian. I was raised very European. So, we came from a very hardworking family. It was all about family, being together. And I guess, that's really instilled my life as, hard work and just kind of working hard for the things you get and just being really respectful and really humble in life.
We've had the conversation before where you spoke about family and you kind of spoke about that like being instilled in you from like your parents being first generation Australians, right? Or
Yeah.
So how did that like as a younger kid and seeing how hard your parents worked and like did you ever feel different in that way because they were first generation in that way, or like what was that experience like for you?
So I was raised by my grandparents pretty much. Obviously my parents were around a lot, but they worked a lot and my grandparents lived next door to us. So I feel like I was raised very European, I guess you could say. And, my grandparents came from Croatia and Slovenia with absolutely nothing, with the shirt off their back. So really it was just all about, working hard, saving money, doing things for your family. And I mean, I absolutely loved the way I was raised, but back then it wasn't really cool. Like we got spoken Croatian and Slovenian too, but it wasn't really cool that my dad spoke Croatian or that I was a Croatian, from Croatian grandparents because you almost seemed like a little bit poor. And it was like you wanted to be the cool Australian kid that did all the normal stuff. Like we didn't do the normal stuff when we were kids, So, I mean, it was very normal, but we were just raised in a different way. We ate different to other people. We didn't just have salads and snags on the barbecue. It just wasn't like that. It was like a 10-course meal. But, looking back now, I'm so proud of my culture and I'm so proud to be Croatian, but also so proud for it to be Australian because Australia has given my family a home. And, I know when I spoke about wanting to play for the Opals in front of the group just recently, I really wanted to hone in on how much Australia has given my family an opportunity and a home. And, my grandparents fled the war. They came with nothing. My grandpa went to jail to try and flee to give us a better life. And
wow.
Yeah, and Australia's really given us that better life. And, I think about it, I kind of get emotional about it because it's like if they didn't flee the war and if they didn't make it to Australia and get given a life and a home here and people gave them a chance, you know. And I think that's what's really important in life is giving people chances because someone gave my family a chance and my grandparents a chance. And, now I'm able to play for my country and that's just so special for me.
It actually gave me goosebumps. Like people don't really know that about you. And that part of your family. It also it makes sense as to why you are the way that you are, why you treat people the way that you treat people because that was, the opportunities given to your family has also made you who you are. Like that's actually pretty cool. And we did spend some time at the Opals recently at this Asia Cup talking about why we wanted to play and the why, what it meant to us and all that stuff. Like being able to play for your country, but also represent longer than just the Australian lineage, like it going back further, like you can play for your country and represent more than that. Like you're representing your grandparents. Like that's really, really cool. Oh God, I can't wait for people to listen to that part. That's really dope. That's really cool. So do you remember as a kid then, like when you first decided or playing sports, right? Because you talk about being like a hardworking kid. Did you see basketball and you were like, yeah, this is what I want to do? Or were you at school like, yeah, I'm going to be the president, like prime minister, sorry. What was that kind of process like for you deciding what you wanted to do with that side of your life?
Yeah, I mean, if you spoke to my mum and dad, they probably thought I was going to be the president at 5 years old. I was at the Montessori school.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
no president in Australia, but I would be the first female president of Australia.
Prime Minister.
Yeah.
No, I think, I'd always been a really sporty kid because that's the way we grew up.
Yeah.
And it probably wasn't until, I'd always kind of did school, but I was like, I'm going to play basketball for Australia and I'm going to go play in the WNBA. And I loved all the look of it all. I really looked up to, Penny Taylor, LJ, Sandy, Christy Harrow when I was growing up. And I guess for me, I thought that school didn't really matter.
Yeah.
And it probably wasn't until I got injured at the AAS that I really thought, oh my gosh, this could get taken away from you at any time possible.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I always wanted to be an athlete. And I think, my grandpa played soccer for Croatia. So sport was always in our family. We always did sport. And it really taught us some really great lessons as kids growing up. And I'm so grateful that we were able to do that. But it probably wasn't until, that time at the AAS where I thought, oh my gosh, Alice, this could go at any time. And this may not work out. You may not go make a career of this. This may, because you go from being a big fish in a small pond playing for Victoria and nationals and stuff, and then you go to the AAS and you're like, I'm a small fish in a big pond. Everyone's just as good as you are.
Yeah.
And I think it probably was that realization. And then I did go to Lake Ginninderra, which is a bit of a difference to Caulfield Grammar.
Yeah, just slightly.
Just slightly, but something that my grandparents always taught us was that you have to be adaptable in life and you have to be able to change and make changes in life and kind of go with things that are presented to you. And I think I really just said to myself, you've got to really knuckle down with school. And I'm super grateful that I did. And I was able to get a pretty decent score and then get into a degree that I really enjoyed.
So that moment where you got injured, like obviously it wasn't like a split second where like you hurt yourself and then you're like, I need to study. Like,
no.
What was that process like for you as you were like realizing, oh, this could get taken away from me? Because a lot of the time as athletes, we hit those periods at multiple times in our career where not only is it the fear of this could get taken away, it does.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you as I'm guessing you were like 16, 17-year-old kid realizing for the first time, holy crap, this can be taken away from me?
Yeah. So I think, I'd had injuries as a kid. You roll your ankle or, I don't know, you hurt your quad. Yeah. Nothing crazy growing up or whatever. And then I actually had a jaw surgery. So I'd gone to the AS in the December and then I had to get a jaw surgery on my face, obviously. And so I had a month off. And then I came back to the institute from there and I had metal plates in my mouth that just kept getting infected. So I just couldn't get
into the swing of things.
Yeah, I just couldn't get momentum. And then I ended up getting a stress fracture in my foot that put me out for in a boot for I think 2 or 3 months it was. So it was kind of just that period of just a few things happening one after another that I'd never really dealt with in life. And I think also I needed an outlet. And I know that's been a huge thing, and I know with you as well, is just having that outlet that basketball just can't be my main focus. I need other stuff. And I think that's probably when I realized, okay, you've got to knuckle down with school. You've got to have something to take it away. And probably because I wasn't training. Yeah. I really, I was still going to the trainings and stuff, but I needed to take that emotional energy from somewhere. And so I think that's really when I got into it.
We have spoken about this so much about having an outlet outside of sport, right? So for me, it looks different than for you than to someone else, but to have something completely separate from the sport that we're playing. Talk to me about how finding out that you needed more outside of sport kind of made you a better athlete, but also made you a better person, holistically, being able to, study and just make yourself more of a well-rounded human. How did that affect your ability to kind of go about your day to day? How did that enrich your life, I guess?
Well, at the end of the day, you are Annalie. You're not a basketball player. You're Annalie. Yeah. And that's the reality that I think that we need to teach kids at this young age is, yes, I'm Alice and I play basketball, but I'm a lot of other things as well. I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a partner to someone. So at the end of the day, we're all these other things. And I think that sometimes that gets a little bit lost on us.
Yeah.
And I think the sport, love being an athlete, but I think probably I realized that I may not make $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And that's just not going to be a sustainable lifestyle.
As a female athlete.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's it's tough out there. So I think for me, it's just, okay, how else am I going to sustain an income? How can I really add to myself as a person and grow and learn?
Yeah.
And that's absolutely changed my career, because there's been times where I haven't studied or worked. And, I'm like you as well. Like I've always worked and done something.
Yeah.
Like I remember and the money wasn't like it was. I think probably my first contract with Bullion Boomers was like $5,000.
That's actually wild, because people don't realize that.
We came from nothing.
It's like you
then.
Come out of the AIS and you're going to sign your first professional contract.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking you're having to work at the same time, your first professional year, and you're getting paid $5,000 for a season.
Yeah.
Like that's actually like, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not talked about.
No.
People don't realize that. Like imagine if we said that to an NBL player.
Oh my God, they'd laugh in your face.
They'd
and be
laugh
like,
at
I'm
you.
not working. I'm not doing anything. I have to lift a finger. Oh God, that's tough.
Yeah, I know. It's actually wild. So like, I hate to interrupt you there, but
No,
like
fine.
that fires up, I guess, my next question. Going into that first year where you had to go into pro, quote unquote, how did you sustain your life? Like because that's not livable income. It's not. How did you figure out how to exist in a world where you're all the demands of a high performance athlete with none of the allowances?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm really lucky. I was still with my parents, obviously, and I was playing in Melbourne, but I also worked. I worked as a receptionist at a physio, and I also studied full time. So it was a lot, and it was a lot for 3 or 4 years. I always worked. I worked at a physio or a chiropractor doing some of their finances, and I always studied. I did my first degree, a commerce degree, and I played basketball pro, but I just knew that wasn't enough money to sustain me and to save money. My family's also very big on property. So it was like, you need to buy a house.
Yeah.
So for me, I couldn't buy a house with just the basketball money that I was getting. So I had to have that extra added income, and I couldn't be grateful for that, honestly, more grateful. So it's really like it's instilled such a work ethic in me to not just be a basketball, to also work, to also study as well, but just give back to the community.
Yeah.
I think that's such a big thing is basketball can feel like, and I don't know if you feel the same, but sometimes in your career, it's always like, can you please help me with an indie? Can you please help me with a workout? Can you please help me with my nutrition? Sometimes I feel like as a basketball, I'm just always taking, and I'm like, no,
asking,
and people are so willing to give it, but it's also like, okay, I also want to give back. And I think that's what's really important as basketballers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree. And I also had that, I think the first 3 years, so my first year at Southside, then Sydney, and then a little bit into Bendigo, I was also studying and working, right? So
incredible, amazing.
So like how we're able to, like literally the days look like, and I'm sure it would be a similar structure. You wake up, you either do your first session super early. I trained some kids after I did my own session. Then I went to training from like 9 till 12-ish. Then I'd lift, then I'd go to work, then I'd go to night class uni.
Yeah.
Every single day. Yeah. And it's hard because it's like you look at that and you're like, crap, like how did I do that? But also like, I'm so grateful.
I'm so proud of you too.
So grateful,
and
right?
You should be proud of yourself.
Right? Like, and it's something that like now I'm like, I'm so glad that I did that because not only do I have like job and life experience that gives me more of a holistic view on the way that I view sport, but also it means that like on those hard days now, I'm like, oh, I've done it worse or like I've done it harder. So I guess like that is something that I want people to hear, like really hear as female athletes. That's usually the majority of everyone's, and for the most part, actually people are working more than we do as basketball players. And it needs to get better, but it also is super important that you allow yourself time and space to explore who you are outside of the sport that you play.
Absolutely.
Anyway, sorry, I digress.
We love a digression.
Yes. In your uni, you have 2 degrees now. You're finishing your second one, yes?
Yeah, I've got one subject left.
Talk to me about what this second one is again. So commerce and
Masters of International Business and Economics.
You're a genius.
No, I'm not.
That's
Fake
actually
it till
wild.
you make it in this life.
It's so cool. And like I remember actually you were when I was playing for Sydney, it was a year after you were there. Yeah. And I was like, God, I don't know any other WNBL athletes that are working full time, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, actually, people just don't talk about it. And I asked around and then they were like, AK did it last year. She's done it every year. Like you need to ask around because a lot of people are struggling with the same things, like trying to balance this life that is professional sports and figuring out who they want to be. It is such like a balancing act because it's a positive and a negative. Anyway, going from Australia, I'm jumping forward a little bit because I will probably go back to ask you about your time in the WNBL, but I want to ask about what kind of led you to make the decision to go overseas. And I've said this before, like basketball in Australia can kind of be like a fishbowl sometimes. Like when you're in it, you feel like everyone's watching all the time and blah, blah, blah. And then when you're not there, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. What led you to make that leap to kind of go explore overseas options?
Yeah, so my first experience was a short-term deal. I played in Lyon in France, and look, the French league was tough, and that was a tough first experience for myself. So obviously I did that, came back to the WNBL, played for Perth, I think it was. Had a pretty good year in Perth, was really like, I really wanted to stay in Perth actually, but I'd kind of got an offer from a European team, which was just kind of like an exciting thing. You know, I think I'd done, I'd just done Commonwealth Games, won the gold medal with the Commonwealth Games. You know, it was the last cup before the Worlds in 2018, and just the opportunity came up to just take my game a little bit further. And I knew that if I was going to ever play for the Opals in a serious matter, I had to get better in that regard. And, you know, I'd kind of always been a 4, but I'd really transitioned into the 3, and I just needed that international experience. And I think having a European passport really did help me.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Definitely does help. I'm super grateful for that. But honestly, it's been the best years of my life. And I think everyone in some capacity, if they can, I know it's also not for everyone because it's tough there. I'm not going to say it's all glitz and glamour. There are some days where you're really having chats with yourself and for me, I've been in some dark places in Europe. But I've also gotten out of them, and I can look on the other side and just be grateful for how much it's really challenged me and it's tested me, and it's actually made me the person that I am today. And you know, I couldn't be more grateful for playing in Europe. And I think everyone, if they have the opportunity and, you know, body and mind willing, can do it, go and experience another culture. And I think for me, having European grandparents, it was also easier because I kind of knew, I mean, I know how Europeans work. You know, I guess I've been raised by them. So, it was my first year I went to Poland, and then in that Polish year, like we'd had a bit of a tough year. You know, Europe's a mixed bag. I've had coaches sacked. I've had players had fights in change rooms, haven't been paid. You know, I remember when I went to Lyon, there was 3 coaches in a space of 3 months.
Oh my God.
Like the first day I got there was like a fight and between like a player and a coach, and everyone was screaming, and then the coach got sacked, and I was like, what just happened? This is in Australia. I was like, oh my God, and everything's in French. And I'm like, okay, this is fun. What's happening?
You can almost tune it out because you're like, I don't understand what anyone's saying to me right now.
I mean, half the time, like when they're talking, you just be like, okay. Like sometimes Ezzy and I, obviously we played together in Sopron, they'd all be talking in Hungarian, Ezzy and I'd be like, hi, what's going on over there? Do you want to know? Nope, don't want to know. Don't know anything.
Don't need to know. I want to ask you about, like you said that you've had hard times while you were overseas. How did you, because you're away from your family, right? And by the sounds of it, you rely on your family, you're very close to them. How did you experience going through like tough times mentally and physically overseas away from your family in a completely different environment? And what did that look like for you? Because I'm trying to normalize like the idea that, you know, you are a super high performing athlete. You've been playing in Europe for forever. You've also played on so many levels. You've also struggled with stuff. Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, look, I think you can't predict when anything's going to come on. You know, like sometimes you're good, sometimes you're not good. Sometimes things are going great and you don't feel good. But for me, probably the worst time was, you know, after I'd broken my leg last season when I was playing in Poland. Last season. Or 2 seasons ago now. And, you know, I'd come off COVID. I'd come off a really good year, actually, great year and a half. And then I got COVID again for the second time, broke my leg, and I just couldn't mentally get myself together. And I was in a very dark place, you know, like, you know, there'd be days where I would just cry constantly. You know, I was really anxious. I'd like lost a lot of belief in myself. And it was actually a really tough time. And I remember speaking to Jenna O'Hay at the time, just thinking like, I need some help, you know, like I need someone to help me. I'm not okay right now. And, you know, my partner, she was really beautiful. She really helped me through that. But no one can really understand unless like
they've been through it.
And I know like there'd be times, I remember one time I called my parents just during the middle of the night, just like hysterical. And like, I'm not a hysterical person. You know, like I'm pretty like level-headed. I've seen a lot of things in the world. Been through a lot of injuries, you know, highs and lows. But I just honestly couldn't get it together for whatever reason. And a big thing for me has been meditating, journaling, and just really doing all the right things for yourself mentally to get yourself right. And, you know, I spoke to a guy through the AS, Dr. Menod. He was really great, and he really helped me just to simplify things and kind of get myself back to just a calm place of peace. And I kind of spoke with the girls just recently about cold showers. I know that sounds a bit crazy.
Yes, no, we were talking about this.
Yeah. So even, you know, there was times where I wasn't sleeping very well, but even if I didn't sleep 1 wink during the night, I would set an alarm at 6 a.m. and have a cold shower. And I would get up and I'd have that cold shower, and that honestly just changed my life. And to this day, I still do a cold shower every day. Everyone thinks I'm nuts.
No, it's the cold therapy. It's like the Wim Hof stuff, right? It's like teaching yourself how to breathe through those moments. Like, because like, I mean, when your body hits cold water, it's a similar feeling to how you feel when you start having an anxiety attack or a panic attack. It's kind of like it wakes you up, and then you can either choose to like not breathe through it and let that overtake you, or the thing about being really regimented with the cold showers and really disciplined is like you have to force yourself to breathe through it, and then it becomes like a form of like meditative therapy. Yeah. By the way, I looked into that after we had a talk about it. That's the only reason I know what I'm talking about.
Look at you! I'm so proud of you.
We spoke about it, and then I've actually started doing it, and
I'm so proud of you.
When I was down at the beach at Mum's place, I was like, I want to start having cold showers, and then Mum was like, well, why don't you just jump in the beach in the morning? I was like, I'm going to do that next week. Right now, no, cold showers for the one. Next week, I'll get in the ocean. That can be my next step. Anyway, I digress. Going back to like that moment where you kind of realize like, oh crap, I need help, or hey, maybe it's before that and you're like, I'm not okay. Because sometimes it can be like weeks or even months, or maybe it's just a couple of days where you don't realize that you've hit that point, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm not okay, and I haven't been okay. Do you remember like what your thought process was to like how you get out of that space? Like, was the first step for you reaching out to a friend or reaching out for help? Because I think that, you know, for people that are in that space and maybe they're in that space now, like, what do you like? Where do you tell them to go? Like, what was your first step? Because maybe people can draw some sort of some confidence or some tips out of like how you handled that situation.
Yeah, look, I think, you know, there's been plenty of times over my career where I've had those moments, but I'll go back to the first time I ever experienced anxiety, which was, I think in like 2015 or something. I thought I was honestly dying. Like, I remember saying to my mum, my heart's like beating out of my chest and I don't sleep. And she was like, oh, okay, we're on here. And it was after a shoulder reco, and my brother had a big surgery, and, you know, like, you just can't help it. It just comes from nowhere. And I'm sure you've experienced this too. You know, sometimes I wish I could look back and go, oh, I wish I never experienced that, and I was never happened to me, but that's life. Things happen to you. I think first thing is just to know you're going to be okay. And I think that is the biggest thing that like I'd love people to hear, and I'm sure you're exactly the same, is like, you know, it doesn't feel like you're going to be okay in the time, but you're going to be okay. You've got so many people around you that love and support you, and there's so much help around to get help around for you. But I think it's just you know, when I notice I'm starting to get a bit low or I'm getting a bit off, it's doing the right things, staying off social media. You know, there's times where I just delete the app and just get off it, you know, really do things that are good for my soul, read, talk to family, meditate, journal, all the things that I know are good for my mental state. You know, when I'm sitting on social media too much and you can get caught up in things, and I'm like, whoa, Alice, take a step back. And I know for me a big thing is, you know, exercising out of basketball, and everyone thinks I'm a little bit crazy that I do, you know, high intensity activity, but that generally mentally just makes me feel really good.
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
And it's something that I love doing, and I know it's not for everyone, but I think, you know, if someone's experiencing that, don't be afraid to ask for help, and just remind yourself that you are going to be okay, and there are people that love you for who you are and want to support you and want to get you through that period, because I just truly believe that everyone just deserves to be the best version of themselves and live their best life in a confident way. And whatever you need to do to get that help, like, people will help you.
Yeah. I think that's something that maybe there's like a fear there that like if you reach out, everyone's going to be like, whoa, I don't understand. Or like, oh, nah, sorry, like I'm not going to be there for you. That's not how it is. Like people are genuinely more there for you than you would think.
Yeah.
I know I have that fear where like sometimes where I'm having a hard day, I'm like, oh, I don't want to tell anyone because then like they're going to think of me differently. And like that's one of the biggest steps I have to make is like, oh, now like even actually at this last Asia Cup just gone, I was having a crappy day and I actually told people. Like I was like, I texted you,
Yeah.
I texted
Yeah.
Madge, I texted
Yeah.
the team doctor, and I was like, hey, today I'm having a really hard day. And I think that the stigma around like, you can tell people when you're not okay.
100%.
Because it also lets other people understand you better.
Yeah.
And it means that there's that barrier of communication then opens up. And it doesn't have to be a scary thing to be like, you know, how are you today? Sometimes you can answer that honestly. Like when someone's like, hey, how are you? You don't have to, you know, break down crying in front of them, but you can just be like, hey, I'm not having a great day, but how are you? And that's okay to answer like that too. Like it doesn't make you a negative person. That's totally okay. And I think, I mean, I'd like to ask your opinion on this. Have you ever felt that at times throughout your career, you felt like you had to pretend that you were okay or act as if you weren't in a crappy headspace or you weren't going through things? And do you remember a time where it was kind of like that?
Oh my God, absolutely. I mean, I come from a European background. Like anxiety and that stuff wasn't a thing. You know, my grandparents came from the war. You know, I'm struggling because I'm not doing well in basketball. Alice, get it together. That's not a thing. You know, and I think for me, it's really hard. You know, we were raised in not a hard way. That's not the right thing to say, but you know, you're always okay. You do things for your family. You work hard. You're fine. You're always fine. And I've probably had the biggest walls built up ever. And my partner could probably say this as well, that, you know, it takes a while to knock down my walls and say, no, I'm not okay today. And it's taken me a lot of years to be open about it and talk about it. And I used to just lie. I used to just say, yeah, I'm fine. But deep down I was dying, you know, like I was really struggling. But I think probably the way I was raised was to show you're okay, to show you're strong. You know, I think everyone always thinks, oh, Alice is the strong one. Like sometimes I didn't feel like the strong one, like I was hanging by a thread.
Literally.
But, you know, that's the perception. And I think perception is everything. And, you know, I don't feel like I'm really proud that I can say to people, no, I wasn't okay in that time. Or, you know, I really needed help. Or I can openly talk about my struggles now. Whereas probably 4 or 5 years ago, it was like I wouldn't say anything to anyone. I was really embarrassed, to be honest. Like I just kind of think, why couldn't I just be like normal and just everyone's happy and they don't have anxiety. They're not stressing about something, like they don't even worry about it. And I'm sitting over here like, oh my God, why me? You know, but you know, you can't help if it happens to you. And that's the reality of it. And, you know, it's, I guess mental health is unfortunately like a disease or something that just comes on in your body. But it's about how you deal with it. And it's about, you know, addressing it in the right way and getting, you know, like I said, the help around you. And I'm sure you probably felt exactly the same, you know, like did you feel a time where you felt like you had to be strong and say you couldn't tell anyone like, no, I'm not okay?
Oh yeah. That was like me my whole junior career. Like that's why I got to the point where like I was like 17 and I completely crumbled into a million pieces. I had no idea who I was, self-worth completely crappy. Cause like when you get to a point after like hiding it in and not telling anyone and not telling anyone and not telling anyone, you get to a point where you're like, oh wow, like I need, what you said, I need help.
I need help,
Because, and then if it's not I need help, it's like paralyzing almost. You get into a state where it's like you can't ask for help, but you also can't tell anyone what's going on and you can't move and you just kind of sit there like, how do you get there? And I think that, I mean, for me, a big thing was in the way that I saw myself, right? Like self-worth.
100%.
And like the way that we view ourselves, a lot of it is tied up into us as athletes, a lot of it. And, you know, sometimes it's a really good thing, right? Because we are such hard workers. We attack basketball the way we attack life. Like we try so hard and we get a lot of, you know, nothing's ever good enough and that makes us better, right? That makes us the best versions of ourselves because nothing's ever good enough. But then you get to a point where your self-worth is so tied up in your performance that if you're not performing well or if basketball's going crappy, then you're like, oh, I'm worth nothing.
Nothing,
So for you, do you like, I know we've had this conversation. What's your view on self-worth and basketball, self-worth and athletics and the way that we should and or you have viewed yourself in the past tied up as physical performance, I guess?
Yeah, I'll go back to a time that, you know, obviously I was part of the Opals for a long period of time and then I got cut with not really a reason that I really could understand. And I'm not going to lie, for those 4 years that I was out of the squad, there was a lot of self-worth chats with me. And I couldn't work out why, you know, I was doing so well in basketball, but, you know, everyone would ask me what did you do wrong? Or like as a person. And honestly, I really questioned my self-worth a lot of times. And it probably wasn't recently until when I played in shop run just recently, this really came to the forefront for me and I couldn't get it out of my head.
Yeah.
My self-worth was so tied to basketball and I didn't realize it. I really honestly didn't realize it. And, you know, I'd play not a great game or, you know, I guess I was used to having really good games all the time. And then your role in a team changes where you're not the 20-point player a game.
Yeah.
So then I started to think, well, maybe that's my self-worth. Maybe I'm worthless. Maybe maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe people are right. Maybe I shouldn't be in the Opals. Maybe I shouldn't be a basketballer.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just give it up. And I can't tell you the amount of chats that I had with people that I thought, you know, I'm just going to retire. Like maybe I've given everything to basketball and maybe I need to work on more of my self-worth outside of basketball. But I actually found a really great through the AAS and the VIS, a really great psychologist, Katie, who's just been absolutely incredible. And honestly, it's changed my life in terms of my self-worth. Like I don't view myself based on basketball games. And, you know, I think sometimes when we speak to people, oh, hey, how did you play? How many points did you score?
Yeah.
Why does that define us? It doesn't. How many points I scored?
It does not, and it shouldn't. But at some point in your career, by career I mean like from 5 till now, that's been the way it's been defined.
100%. Maybe I played really good defense. Maybe I set really good screens. Maybe I passed the ball really well. Mm-hmm. It's not all about scoring. Yeah. And I think that I want that taboo to kind of go because I mean, for me, it really affected me. People would be like, oh, how'd you go? How many points did you score? Well, I didn't score that many, so maybe I was pretty worthless today. Yeah. And then I have to say to people, but I did other things well. Yeah. You know, I played defense really well. I stopped the best player in the world. You know, we played Sukarova and I had to guard Chelsea Gray. Yeah. I didn't score very much, but she had 8 points and we won. Yeah. You know?
But
so
you
does that mean I played a bad game?
It. Yeah, I know. Like even for you to just be like, but I did other things well. It's like, that shouldn't even be a sentence. It's like, yeah, I played well. And like people should understand that, but I totally understand what you mean. And then you get all tied up in the points and the numbers and then you view yourself as like a record on a stat sheet. It's actually wild. Yeah. Do you remember the first conversation you had with your sports psych about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember speaking to her and I was just in a pretty low place. Yeah. And I was like, I just feel worthless. Yeah. Like I just feel like I don't even know my self-worth anymore. And, you know, you can tell yourself that all the time, like, you know, you are worthless, you are worthy, you do deserve things, but it's not until you actually believe it that things start to change. And I will say that doing that work with Katie and then, you know, now being back in the Opal squad and playing, it's funny, I finally feel worthy of it, you know, and like I can finally say like I'm at that point where I feel worthy to be deserving of these things. Yeah. And I think that's something that, you know, maybe as kids growing up, we don't do enough work on in terms of like educating kids to be worthy of things, to deserve things, to then be able to succeed and achieve them. Because, you know, I remember that, you know, I was last cut in 2018 before the Worlds and I remember being cut and thinking, oh, but I don't think I was worthy of being in it anyway. Like I probably would have failed if I made the team. Mm-hmm. Like that's a horrible thought. Yeah. Like I was good enough to be on that team. And like, you know, I think that our self-worth, it doesn't just revolve around basketball. It's around just who we are as people. Yeah. And regardless if basketball's going well or not going well, you know, we're worthy of good things in life and we're worthy of love. We're worthy of happiness. We're worthy of mental peace. Yeah. And we're worthy of all the things that we really want in our life. And I think that that's not spoken about enough.
No, amen. Like seriously, like clicks to that because snaps, that's what it is. Because like teaching that to younger kids, I wish that that's a part of like our like syllabus in schools, in like a junior program, like in something because like being able to like look at yourself and like, this is something that I had to do like an exercise that one of my sports psych gave me after a game. Look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself some nice things.
Oh my God, my person said, tell yourself you love each other. Tell yourself you love yourself. I used to say, I love you, Alice. Like how crazy is that?
I know.
I would do that.
Like it's wild because like that's not, usually we're taught to like, and I don't know if it's like a overflow, I guess. It's like you're supposed to after a game go and analyze and look through and just pick at things to get better. But then that goes to like an extreme where you analyze, you look through and then all you see is negative stuff. Yeah. And so that act of like and if I ever have kids, that's something I'll get my kid to do. Stand in front of a mirror, tell yourself some good things that you did in that game, and tell yourself that you love yourself, and tell yourself like some good things that you did that have nothing to do with the sport. Like I had a laugh with my friend. Like I was sitting on the bench and we had a big giggle about this thing. Like I had a teammate in Chicago, Christina Nigwe, who just made me laugh so much. And yes, it's a very serious thing in the WNBA, don't get me wrong, but I loved being able to like go home from those games and be like, God, I had such a great time with Christine today. Like,
no lives are being lost, no lives are being saved.
Yeah.
We are playing a game.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy it.
No,
honestly.
literally. And I think that if you had the opportunity to talk to your younger self and give your younger self a piece of advice about like self-love and self-worth, what would you say to little baby Alice?
Little baby AK.
Yeah.
I think just like that you are worthy of all the great things that come your way. And I think that, obviously there's going to be a lot of hard work. There's going to be a lot of setbacks. There's going to be a lot of people that put you down or have opinions of you, but it's the opinion you have of yourself. And I think that is so the most important. And at the end of the day, I'm the only person that lives in this body forever. Like I don't get to live in anyone else's body. It's me and me only.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, the day that you decide to love yourself and accept all your flaws, all your differences, all the things that, you might want to improve or do better at, they're what make you who you are. And that's what makes you special. I know it sounds super cliche, but, I think we don't realize how special we are as humans. And I think we don't celebrate ourselves enough. Okay, there are the times where I need to say, okay, Alice, you need to do better at X, Y, Z. 100%. That's life. That's learning and growing. But also you need to celebrate how great you are and how amazing you are. And I don't think we do that enough as people. And I think, a little bit of tall poppy syndrome in Australia. People give you a compliment.
God, yeah.
And I'm the worst person. Someone gives me a compliment. I'm like, oh, no, but it's just like this. Or like, oh, I like this. I'm like, oh, it's something like something basic. Don't worry about it. Like you're always putting it down like, oh, you did this amazing, like, oh, but no, it wasn't as good as this, and this.
Yeah.
No, we need to celebrate who we are as people and, athletes as well, and realize that, we are allowed to have good things in life. And it was actually when I worked in Sydney, I worked with this beautiful woman, Olivia, and she really taught me that, you can have it all. You can strive to have everything in life. If you really work hard and you want something, you'll make it happen.
Do you how do you go with people telling you that you need to focus on one thing or just focus on basketball, just focus on work? How do you attack that question when someone's like, oh, do less, or don't you need to just focus on this? What do you have to say to those people?
No.
I will not do less.
I will not. For me, it doesn't work. Everyone is different. Some people may just need to be basketball. Doesn't work for me. I've tried it. It doesn't work. I need balance in my life. I'm coming back home to play for Townsville, and, a big reason of me coming home was I absolutely loved my time in Europe, but I'm just a basketball over there. I'm studying, but I want to have other avenues. I'm going to work when I'm in Townsville because I want to get experience and I want to utilize what I've learned, and I want to learn more. I want to grow as a person and a player more. And I think those things kind of go hand in hand. I want to give back. I want to learn about different work environments and see what different people do. So I think for me, it's a big thing in terms of having that balance. I know balance is a huge thing for me. My family, my little nephews, my niece, they're balancing for me.
Yeah.
They're grounding for me. I just can't be all basketball. It's just some people can do it. It's just not for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I have one more question, I think, about the Opals stuff.
Yeah.
How did you feel stepping back into the Opals jersey after, was it 4-year hiatus?
Yeah.
How did that feel for you? Was there any anxiety feelings? Were you super excited? Were you was there resentment there? Talk to me about that feeling of the call up to be back in the squad and then the call up to be in the team.
Definitely no resentment. I couldn't have been more proud to wear the uniform, and I don't think I realized that until I really put on the uniform and was back in the environment. And being an Opal has been the dream since I was a little girl. I want to go to Olympics, play for your country. That's been the absolute dream, for the reasons why I said Australia gave my family a home.
Yeah.
And it's playing for something that's bigger than yourself and bigger than you as a basketball and inspiring the next generation.
Yeah.
So I had no resentment. Honestly, I dealt with that in the past, and I think probably the work that I'd done about my self-worth and being worthy enough for things probably really helped me.
Yeah.
And I just came in with so much excitement. I mean, you girls were so awesome. Like, you really kind of brought me back into the group and you made me feel really comfortable. And
it was a really fun group of people.
Yeah. And I just felt really lucky. I'll say I felt really lucky to be called back because it's hard to play for your country. Not everyone gets to do it. And I felt, really lucky and really just grateful to be back in the fold. And, you know, everyone opened their arms for me to come in and they helped me in any way. And, you know, the coaching staff were great. And it just felt like I really belonged there and I really enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, and being able to do that on home soil too, right?
Amazing.
Like being able to have your family there. And then also like the coolest thing for me is like after the game, getting to look up into the stands and seeing so many young girls.
Yes.
So many young girls and being like, oh, you know, like I'll say like, oh, do you play basketball? And they're like, yeah, I play for such and such. I want to be an Opal one day. Like that. Oh my God, that like, it makes my heart all warm and fuzzy. Like that is the coolest thing that we get to do this on home soil and get to see, like, I was that little girl.
100%. Like, you know, the last thing I did was Commonwealth Games and that was on home soil in, you know, Queensland.
Yeah.
But we didn't have that connection. I guess it was like we had to go really quickly and, you know, we didn't really get to like meet a lot of the young fans. But just to see those girls and just know that if you can inspire one girl to play basketball and go after her dreams, like that's amazing. You know, you've done an incredible job.
100%. A couple of more questions from me before we go into some of the people questions that people sent in over Instagram. People questions. So like there's this big what's the word I'm looking for? Stigma around once you hit 30, you're going to retire. Everyone's like, oh, you're 30 now, you go have kids and retire.
Yeah.
What is your viewpoint on that? like also, I mean, I spoke to Kayla about this. Why is it that like people expect women to be done with sport way sooner?
Yeah.
And especially when there's so much success and again, having this conversation with Kayla, she's like, I'm just getting started. Like literally, like there's so much more room. Like your career's not even close to being done. What do you say about that stigma? Talk to me.
30 was my best year.
Yeah.
I really thrived at 30.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. I think it really is honestly dependent on the person.
Yeah.
But I think it's because of culture and society. You know, back then, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I thought I'd be married with kids at 30. I thought I'd be retired, married, kids. Couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
But I'm happy, you know, like I'm super happy where I am in my life. And, you know, I think as basketballers, we really come to our peak because it's all learning, it's growing, it's experience, it's putting in all that training that then when you're in your, you know, late 20s, early 30s, you really become sure of yourself. Yeah. And I think that's what it is. You become sure of yourself as a person, as a player, how you want to be perceived, how hard you work. Yeah. And I think that's when the fun, you know, really starts. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, all my friends are married with kids and having babies, and I've got my niece and nephews, and I always think, oh my God, I want a baby so bad. But I also love playing basketball. Yeah. And, you know, I think like I put so much hours into my body and working on my game. Like I just want to keep playing. Yeah. And, you know, I want to keep playing for as long as mentally and physically I can keep enjoying it and keep giving back to the sport. So for as long as that is, I'll just keep doing it. And, you know, I hope that, you know, I can have kids when the time is right.
Yeah. I mean, like, why put a ceiling on it? That's the thing that I hate. Like, why put like hey, by this time you must stop. And whether it's like a weird thing in like societal view on like, this is what women are supposed to do. Like, but why put a ceiling on it?
Yeah. And like, I think as women, like we can really forge our own path. Yeah. And women are incredible with what they do. You know, I know mums that work full time. They've got kids, the way they balance and juggle things, women are amazing, honestly. Yep. And I think if we can keep inspiring the young generation to go after your dreams, no matter how crazy it seems, okay, I'm probably not going to be an astronaut or whatever, but, you know, like go and achieve your dreams, go out and do what you want to do and do it with confidence. Yeah. Do it with that, like what we're talking about, that self-worth and that self-respect to know that, I can go and achieve these things and I can do what I want as well.
You know what's really cool is I remember having this conversation with Monconti about doing both basketball and footy, right? Yeah. I was like, people, I think, and I'm making a generalization here, people are scared of what females are capable of.
I couldn't agree more.
And we, like as females, we're also scared of what we're capable of because we have not yet been in a society that fully allows us to grow to our full potential without any limitations financially, physically, in societal views, norms, all of that stuff. We are capable of so much more than we've already done. And that's scary. Scary, awesome, but terrifying to people that don't want to see us reach our full potential. And sometimes that's the other women in our same playing field. Sometimes that's, you know, our male counterparts. Sometimes it's old Joe sitting on the couch watching and has nothing but mean things to say about women's in sport. It is terrifying that we haven't yet reached our potential with like all of the things we have achieved, but with people trying to hold us back, we're still knocking at the door of that ceiling. It's pretty cool, terrifying in the best way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, probably societal views was women were childbearers.
Yeah.
You know, you got married, you stayed at home, you had a child, you raised the family, and then 50 years has passed and I haven't worked.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's super exciting that we can honestly forge our own path and we can work and we can be more than just, you know, basketballs. We can be mums, we can be friends, we can be all these types of things. But I think it's about definitely like, you know, closing that pay gap as well.
Yeah.
You know, women can do just as amazing things as men do.
Yeah.
So why do we get paid so differently to, okay, I know it's a lot about sponsorship and people watching, but why is our gap so different in the NBL and the WNBA? Like why? We do the same thing. We train the same amount.
Yeah.
Why is it different?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that as women, we need to keep showcasing how great women's sport is and how great women are in general, that we can do just as much as men do as well, you know?
And we have to, the thing is like sometimes we have to promote ourselves and be loud. We have to be like, hey, look, we are here.
Yeah.
Like,
we're
listen,
in the room.
watch, we're in the room.
We're in the room.
We are in the room. And sometimes that can be seen as like pushing, it's like selling yourself and being intimidating and all that. Stuff that like I am here, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm being loud for the generation coming through. And I believe that that's part of our duty as athletes. Like, hey, we can demand more and it's not selfish.
100%.
We can demand more and it is not selfish. We are not just demanding more for ourselves, but we're demanding more for our sisters that play and, you know, the young women and girls that want to, you know, they won't have to work unless they want to. Anyway, unless they would like to.
We all come in this world and we all leave the same way.
Yeah.
You know, and that's about treating people with respect, treating people with honesty and the values and morals that people have. Because at the end of the day, we all come and leave the same way. So why should we be treated so differently? And I think that's a conversation that we all always really need to have, is just promoting equality between men and women.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that us as athletes really have the opportunity to do.
Absolutely. Snaps to that one again. I love it. Okay, I'm going to ask you some of the questions that were sent in. This first one, who was your favorite player that you've played with?
Oh my gosh.
That's a really hard one, actually.
That is such a hard question. I've learned just so many things from so many different players. Wow. I'll have to say my partner, Artemis Spanu. She was the best four-man and she really found me on the court.
Yeah.
Like she passed.
That was your MVP season.
Yeah, that was my MVP season. So absolutely, there you go.
Yeah. We love someone that makes you look better on the court. That's great.
Yeah, and just I think also being a great person as well. You know, like that really was just, a great season.
I love that. We kind of answered that one. How excited are you to play for Townsville?
Oh, I'm super excited. I'm also excited for some sun after 3 years in a row of winter.
I forgot about that. You've been winter to winter to winter to winter.
So more winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. And, you know, the opportunity came up to come back and play in Australia and come and play for Shannon. And, you know, I couldn't be more grateful to be playing for the Fire, and they're an incredible organisation. And, you know, I think that I also want to help continually build the WNBL. You know, I've done a lot of years in Europe and I want to help give back to the WNBL league and keep growing that as a sport and a league in Australia to show, you know, the AFL, the NRLW, soccer, like we're here.
Yeah.
And like we are good and we are very, very, very good. And our national team program is great. So, you know, I really hope that I can keep inspiring, you know, the younger generation coming in Australia and playing.
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
You and Annalie both played for Elthamas Juniors. Did you overlap?
No,
we didn't.
Sad.
But our names are both up on the wall.
Yeah.
Actually, when you walk into Eltham High School, they're both up on the...
They should rename the court to us.
Yeah, they should. The AKAM court.
Yes.
The ACAM.
The ACAM. Oh my God, that's a really good one.
I know. It would actually be just a giant photo of our faces in like
surely
art.
a shrine or a plaque.
Yeah, we have to.
Eltham, we can get photo shoots next week.
Connor Matthews.
Connor Matthews.
I'll text Connor after this.
At Connor Matthews.
Yeah, we didn't overlap, but I did actually watch Alice play when she was playing. You played a couple. Did you play the Big V year or was that Coley?
No, that was Coley.
You played NBL 1 for Eltham.
No, I lied. I did.
No, you did, right?
I did play the Big V year, and then I played the NBL 1 year. Yeah.
I watched some of those games.
Wow.
I remember
you were back from college.
Yes, you had really short hair back then. It was very
that
short.
Was awful.
I loved it.
It was like
cute.
a bit of a life crisis. I like came back from the comm games and I was like, I hate my hair. It needs to go.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Cuts it off.
I did love it at the time though, so it was fun.
I remember thinking, Alice Kunek has short hair, so I want short hair. I was like, wow, it looks so good.
Be like AK.
Be like AK. So what, and then this is the last one from here. What was your favorite moment from the Asia Cup?
Oh my God, everything. Wow. It was just a great experience, but definitely winning the bronze medal.
Yeah.
You know, I wish it would have been gold, but I think the team really came a long way throughout the whole experience. And yeah, you know, just from the highs and lows of playing in that tournament were just incredible, but absolutely winning with the girls and playing together and the camaraderie that we had and the full support that we had of one another. And from 1 to 12, just great people.
Yeah.
And the whole experience was just, you know, I can't speak highly enough of it.
Actually, though, it was a very positive experience for me too. I loved it. I really did. And like, I don't know if it was something to do with like, there was like, I mean, I've loved all of my experiences with the Opals, but for me, that one was a super special thing. I don't know why that one felt different. It just did. The people were great and it was such a vibe. And being able to play in front of friends and family, like, you know, for me, looking up in the stands and having Marina there, like, that's always special.
So
like,
special.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I love seeing her in a little Melee jersey.
Yeah. I think
so
like
fun.
The culture has really, you know, come a long way. And like I know that's a full credit to Madge and Kayla and those girls that how much they've really done behind the scenes. And I've seen it, you know, from where it was probably when I played, you know, that 15, 16, 17 years to where it is now. And, you know, like props up to Madge, like what she's really done and what she's been through has been nothing short of incredible to what she's overcome and achieved and how far she's really pushed that program and put it back on the map. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. Like she's really, really like when we talk about culture and like a person that can drive culture, like Tess Madgen, ladies and gentlemen, that is her.
She's in the building.
She's the moment. That is her. Moment, she's just brilliant with that stuff. And then the last two questions. Tell us something that people wouldn't know about you.
Oh, well, a fun fact.
Yeah, fun facts.
I write with my left-handed, but I play with my right hand.
Do you smudge when you write?
Yes, it's so annoying. So does
that mean when you sign things, you smudge
I'm always smudging.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so annoying. I remember being a kid and being like, I'd come home and I'd have to smudge everywhere. I'd be like, oh my God. Also a fun fact. I mean, I'm a pretty, I wouldn't say basic person, but, you know, I like the simple things in life.
Yeah.
Love to read, spend time with my family and friends. Love the finer dining experiences in life that everyone probably thinks I'm going out every night from my week here. But yeah, I think, you know, just like love a sunset and a sunrise. They're just the best things in life.
As you're saying that, we've got a beautiful sunset in the background happening here. You've had this golden hour coming onto your face for the last half an hour.
I've
it's
actually
been so
been seeing in your eyes like the beautiful sun on your skin. And I'm like, her skin looks phenomenal.
It's the glow.
We love a glow.
And then...
And I hate cockroaches.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's fair.
Hate, and spiders. They make me cry.
Yeah, they're kind of gross, man.
Nothing really makes me cry, but I somehow just start crying. And I'm like, why am I crying?
Actually, before I ask you this last question, I'm going to give a quick story time. Shout out to Marty Maley, my older brother, who gave me an irrational fear of huntsmen's because he used to put them on his face and he kept them as pets.
Nope.
So he like would wake me up with like a spider on my face, or like he'd keep them like in a little jar, and then like someone would be driving the car and then he'd put them on his face.
Nope.
And then so like he's like a 9-year-old kid. The person driving, like my mom or like a friend's mom, would turn around, like look in the rearview mirror and be like, ah!
What?
He used to bring them into school, do the same thing with the teachers. So yeah, I get it. Irrational fear of spiders. I'm totally there with you.
I feel uncomfortable now.
Yeah, I'll show you some videos. See if we can overlay a photo of Marty with a spider on his face.
Marty, why?
I know,
Tell me
why. Just why. That's the end of that. Anyway, how do you think people see you versus who you actually are?
Oh gosh, this is a big one. I feel like everyone that I've met, they're like, you're actually a really nice person. I'm like, what? What did I miss?
Do I have a resting bitch face?
Okay, I know on the court I want to win. I can be, you know, like really competitive, really fiery sometimes, but I think I'm like sometimes just a little bit big teddy bear.
You're
like,
a softie.
I'm a softie. I don't take life too seriously. That's obviously definitely gotten better with age.
Yeah.
But I think I just want to enjoy life. And I think that I've, you know, probably been in some dark times where it hasn't seemed too happy.
Yeah.
That I kind of think, you know what, life is meant to be enjoyed. And I think I'm just, I'm pretty easygoing. You probably don't think that on the court when I'm playing because I'm like, let's go, let's win.
Yeah, you and I might be two of the most competitive people.
100%. But like I can't step off the floor and I'm like, oh my God, let's go for a drink. Let's go for a coffee together, you know? And I think that life is short. Like enjoy the moments. And, you know, for me, life is all about memories and moments. And it's about creating really beautiful memories and moments with the special people that you love. And I think that's the key to life for me.
Snaps. That is actually brilliant.
I promise I'm a very nice person.
She is lovely. To say thank you for coming on, we have a little gift from Reebok for you. So
thank you so much.
That will
thanks Reebok.
Having some threads for AK. You'll be seeing
Pumped
her
by Reebok.
Yeah, you'll be seeing her in Greece in some Reebok threads.
Probably won't be taking the hoodie, but
yeah,
we'll take these. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you for having me on. And honestly, what you're doing is incredible and spreading the word and the message. And you're a very special human, Annalie Maley. Oh my God, no, I've just lost my mind. Annalie Maley, she should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I like these conversations to me are so important. But like the way that we got to connect during this Asia Cup, I was like, I need you on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like that, the way that you speak about life, basketball, self-worth, like even when we started talking about the cold showers thing, I was like, she gets it. Like being able to like see things and tackle them in a holistic way, and then also just being a person above all things. Yeah. I think that's, you know, when we talk about how people see you, that's how I see you. And that's how I imagine like all of the Opals sisters would see you. And like, I think anyone that has actually taken the time to have a conversation with you would see the same thing. Like you are a person first, a basketball player second, and you're so much more than what you do on the basketball court. You give so much to everybody. You're a very empathetic, kind, loving person. And it's been a pleasure to not just have you on the podcast, but also getting to reconnect with you after being, you know, you've been overseas, I've been away, and being able to reconnect again has been really special. And it's something that I really do hold very close to my heart. Too. Like you're a good egg, AK.
Thank you, darling. You're great. So are you.
You guys are witnessing us have a moment, but I love you, AK.
Love you.
You're amazing. Yes, thank you so much for coming on. That was Under the Surface, Pumped by Reebok. It was pretty amazing. I'm so excited for you guys all to listen to it. This is Alice Kunek, and good night, everybody.
Thanks for having me on.